I remember the first time I drove through Greenwood Ridge. The town seemed to float between rolling hills and wide fields, small brick houses tucked behind flowering trees, streets so quiet you could hear a dog bark 2 blocks away. In spring, everything felt alive, but peaceful, almost too peaceful. The kind of place where everyone knew everyone, where the post office clerk would greet you by name, and even the neighborhood cat had a reputation. I thought I understood it, too, never imagining how fragile that quiet could be. The excitement started small. The Greenwood Ridge Community Credit Union had just installed a new ATM kiosk by the post office. It was modern, glass, LEDs, cameras, and a tiny attendant desk that never seemed to have anyone at it. 24-hour banking made easy, the signs proclaimed. Residents were thrilled. Convenience had arrived, and for a town like this, it was the future. It began subtly. A few weeks after the kiosk went live, Maria Ortega, who ran the cafe on Elm Street, noticed something odd. Sitting at her laptop one evening, she reconciled receipts and froze. 2 withdrawals appeared in her business account, $1,750 and $2,400, both logged at the kiosk, both at 2 a.m. Maria had been asleep. She had no reason to withdraw cash at that hour. Heart racing, she called the bank. The teller read from a script, the transactions matched her card and PIN, so no immediate refund could be issued. They would investigate, the voice said. Maria left with a crumpled affidavit and the bitter taste of being told the machine was more believable than she was. The next week, Harold Jensen, a retired teacher, had the same experience. Opening his monthly statement, he saw 3 withdrawals, totaling nearly $3,000, all time-stamped at the kiosk between 1:45 a.m. and 2:30 a.m. He had not left his house that night. At the branch, he explained the situation to a teller. "It shows the correct PIN was used," the teller said. "We can't reverse these transactions." Harold left, shaking his head. The machine had taken his money without a fight, and the bank seemed powerless, or unwilling, to intervene. Then the reports began to snowball. Week 1, dozens of complaints. Week 2, over 60. By the 4th week, the tally had grown to more than $650,000 withdrawn fraudulently. Business owners, retirees, teachers, even teenagers with accounts for summer jobs, everyone had been touched. Money that had taken years to save evaporated in a matter of nights. The credit union tried to absorb the losses, freezing some accounts while investigators worked, but trust was already cracking. People no longer felt safe in their own town. I went there to understand what had happened. I spoke with Maria in her cafe, lemon-scented soap in the sink, a coffee mug with a chipped handle, her hands trembling as she recounted the withdrawals. Harold, sitting amid stacks of postcards and old books in his living room, still couldn't reconcile that his money had vanished. They told me the same thing. The bank kept insisting that the withdrawals were legitimate. Yet no one had made them. The scam itself was brilliant. Investigators discovered that a group of 4 men had rented a storage unit outside town. Inside, they built a small server rack, cameras pointed toward the kiosk, and a laptop humming with data. The ATM had been compromised with a skimming device, an overlay on the keypad to record PIN entries, a card reader disguised to capture magnetic stripe data, and a tiny pinhole camera hidden in the kiosk fascia. Using these, the men cloned cards and withdrew cash at 2 a.m., all while the bank system saw perfectly valid PINs and accounts. On paper, everything was legitimate. In reality, the town's lifeblood was being siphoned dry. The bank's response remained consistent: transactions matched PINs. We cannot refund. But inside, their own investigators were tracing anomalies: repeated withdrawals at odd hours, accounts flagged for sudden, high-volume activity, and subtle discrepancies in ATM logs. They issued subpoenas, pulled surveillance footage, and cross-referenced card skimming patterns. The procedure was methodical. The perpetrators thought they had found a quiet, predictable target. They had underestimated the patience and diligence of investigators and townspeople alike. Community response became crucial. Meetings at the town hall brought dozens together, then hundreds, each person bringing printed statements, matched against friends' accounts, compiling a database of every fraudulent withdrawal. A retired deputy sheriff, ink-stained hands shaking with age but sharp as ever, helped collate the data. They noticed patterns: all incidents at the kiosk between 1:30 a.m. and 3 a.m., often clustered in consecutive nights. They weren't just victims, they were becoming detectives. The raid was precise. Dawn on a Thursday, officers entered the storage unit. Inside, evidence lay in plain sight: hundreds of cloned cards, rows of tiny cameras, withdrawal logs that mirrored the fraudulent transactions. A laptop hummed, still logged into the network they had tapped. Subpoenaed records confirmed the unit had been rented under a fake name, paid in cash. Within hours, the 4 men were in custody, charged with wire fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy. Arrests did not instantly heal the town. The credit union replaced the kiosk, added biometric authentication, and held multiple town hall meetings to restore confidence. They explained the scam, detailed new security measures, and tried to reassure residents. Some accounts were reimbursed, others took months to process. The financial impact was significant, but the psychological impact ran deeper. Residents checked balances obsessively. Even after the criminals were caught, trust had been broken. The human stories lingered. A high school coach, a father of 2, saw $5,600 vanish from his account, disrupting auto-pay bills and his family's summer plans. Maria Ortega fretted over payroll for her small staff. Harold Jensen no longer slept through the night without glancing at his statements. One elderly woman, clutching her bank statement, whispered, "I trusted the bank. I trusted the machine. Now I only trust my savings under my mattress." Jokes aside, she meant it. Even years later, Greenwood Ridge bore the scars. People still visited the kiosk, now fortified with new security, yet the glow of its LED lights reminded them of the nights they had felt powerless. Children played nearby, neighbors waved, but the easy trust of the past had eroded. The lessons were hard-learned: progress often has a hidden cost, convenience can be weaponized, and the things we rely on most can betray us when we least expect it. As I left Greenwood Ridge, driving past the maple-lined streets and rolling fields, I looked at the ATM one last time. Bright, clean, and innocent-looking. But I knew its story, and I knew that somewhere, another town, another machine, was waiting. Waiting for the same clever, cruel pattern to repeat. The machines still hum. The lights still blink. And somewhere, someone will trust them again. Because the hardest truth is this: the cost of convenience is invisible until it's gone, and by the time you notice, it's already too late.